Beast mode. Fresh. Beast mode. Fresh. Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today, we're going to be doing a little contrasting and comparing and deciding which is better. The original version of a fragrance, which was
Beast mode,
or, great performing, long lasting, projecting powerfully, whatever you want to call it, versus a fresher version of that fragrance that came out a little ways down the road. So which one was better, the Beast Mode original or the Freshie? Also, feel free to go ahead and keep a tally in your mind of which one you would have chosen, and then let me know in the comments how yours went. Did you pick more Beast Mode or more Fresh? Let's jump into it. Let's check these out. First up, a really easy one here. The original Dior Fahrenheit Eau de Toilette versus Fahrenheit Cologne cologne. Yeah, Fahrenheit. Had to include this one. The original Fahrenheit has that petrol gasoline kind of smell to it with a good amount of leather and violet, and I love it. I'm a big fan of that gas. Now, it's obviously a little bit divisive, especially nowadays. When this came out in the 80s, of course, it was very unique then as well, but tastes have changed, we'll say. So you'll get a lot of people saying, Fahrenheit, if I want to smell like gas, I'll pour gas on myself. Pro tip, don't do that, it's not safe. And then Fahrenheit Cologne, which is a fresher take, of course, on the Fahrenheit DNA, which, for all intents and purposes, takes the place of AQUA Fahrenheit, which is now discontinued. AQUA Fahrenheit was a bit closer to the original DNA, and yeah, I gotta be honest with you guys, I think AQUA Fahrenheit is much, much, much better than Fahrenheit Cologne. Not that this is a bad fragrance, but AQUA Fahrenheit just better. It's that simple. For me, Fahrenheit Cologne loses a little bit of what makes Fahrenheit Fahrenheit, which is that edge, that masculine edge that this has. It's kind of scrubbed away in Fahrenheit Cologne. Now, between the two, if I had to pick just one, of course, it's the original Fahrenheit. It's not close. So in the first matchup, it's gotta go to this one. Classic, classic. Wouldn't surprise me if Fahrenheit Cologne gets discontinued in the not so distant future and they try again with something different. It's not memorable enough, but this, it should still be around. On to the next matchup. And this one is VIKTOR and ROLF. Spice Bomb versus Spice Bomb Fresh. It's done for me. Now, this is a closer matchup. Spice Bomb Fresh is one of those fragrances that, even though it's to an extent flown under the radar and was not as successful as VIKTOR and ROLF would have liked, it still has a big cult following of people that really, really like the fragrance. And then Spice Bomb, of course, kicked the whole thing off. It is aggressively spicy, but in a very attention-grabbing and pleasant way. Most people seem to gravitate towards Spice Bomb Extreme, which of course came out after this one and ramped things up a bit and gave it this great black vanilla. But the original Spice Bomb still kicks. Great stuff. Spice Bomb Fresh, or Eau Fraiche, depending on where you look, is basically what you would expect. A fresher take on Spice Bomb, where that aggressiveness is dialed down and reined in a bit. Unfortunately, this is harder to find nowadays than it used to be. And between these two, if I were picking just one to wear, one to keep, I go with the original again. Now, I know this one is going to be more divisive as far as the choices go. I think with Fahrenheit, most people are probably going to go with the original, but with this one, I could see it being split 50-50 potentially. For me, Spice Bomb, the original, is what I'm keeping. Next up on the chopping block, we have INVICTUS, the original from PACO RABANNE, and then INVICTUS AQUA. And this is the re-release, because if you buy INVICTUS AQUA nowadays, this is the one you're gonna get. Now, INVICTUS is not my favorite. It's got this bubblegum sweetness. It's obviously more of a youthful fragrance, but I really do appreciate that it accomplishes what PACO RABANNE is trying to do, and it accomplishes it really well, which is being a fragrance with a lot of versatility, sweetness, and performance that appeals to younger guys. I should know my younger brother has worn INVICTUS way too much. You gotta stop. but it does the job. You know, people love it. It's a compliment puller, and that's why it sells. It's why you have so many different fragrances out there that are ripping off Invictus's style. Then we've got Invictus Aqua, and this one, even though it's the re-release, which is not quite as good as the original 2016 limited edition release, I think is better done than Invictus. In this circumstance, with that added aquatic freshness, it helps temper the sweetness a little bit and brings everything into line a little bit for me. Gives it more contrast. So instead of saying, hey, here's some sweetness, some more sweetness, and also here's a little more, this one pulls it back. And with some of the other fragrances we've talked about, that freshness pulling it back maybe made it lose a little bit of what made the original iconic. Here, I think it actually helps. So for me, even though this is the re-release worse version of Invictus Aqua, as a lot of people would say, I'm taking it over the original. So 2 Beast Mode originals, 1 fresh. Next up, Ferragamo. We've got Uomo going up against Casual Life. I'm a big fan of Ferragamo Uomo. I think this stuff smells great. It's got this sweet tiramisu note in there. And it's one of those times that I enjoy the overload of sweetness. Sometimes I don't, it depends on the fragrance, but with this one, I do. Great fall and wintertime fragrance, great for compliments, great for pulling attention, great performance, great. Bottle, maybe a little tacky, but I actually like it. I think it's cool looking. I like the atomizer up on top. And the price that you used to be able to pick this up for, it was a steal. It was in the $30 to $40 range, if memory serves me correctly. So Uomo, fantastic. Unfortunately, didn't do as well as Ferragamo was hoping because it looks like they've kind of abandoned the Uomo line. Hopefully not. I mean, hopefully we get some info here soon and they're coming out with a new flanker or something like that, but they've been concentrating on their new Ferragamo line of fragrances that look like this. So that seems to be where their focus is, not here, but that's the original Uomo. Then we've got Casual Life. In the original Uomo, it had tiramisu, as I mentioned, and that gave it kind of a coffee feel. And that coffee carries over here into Casual Life, only it's not as sweet. You also have ambroxan in here, violet leaf, a little bit of lemon and musk. And this is more of a springtime take on the Uomo DNA, with that sweetness, as I mentioned, dialed way down. It's a very clean fragrance, modern, classy as well, a little touch of class. It's a great scent as long as you pick it up for the right price. This one, along with a lot of fragrances in the Uomo line, have been hit or miss at discounters here lately. For a long time, like I said, you were looking in that $30 to $40 range, and with Casual Life specifically, you could often find it below $30. But the price has gone up, as presumably they've been harder to acquire at discounters. Both of these, very solid. I don't dislike either, but if I'm picking just one, it's the original again. So Beast Mode 3, fresh 1. We move from Ferragamo Uomo to Valentino Uomo, the original, and Uomo Aqua. Now I'll talk about Uomo Aqua first here. This is a fragrance that I really love a lot. It's got tomato leaf, which you don't see used very often, period, let alone in designer fragrances. And I know when you hear that, tomato leaf, you probably think, what? As if any dude has ever walked into a garden and seen a tomato vine and gone,
c'est magnifique.
and pulled off some of the leaves and,
the women are gonna love me.
yeah, that's never happened, but it works. It has this green aquatic feel with that iris being very fresh in Valentino Uomo Aqua. Not a typical freshie though. This one isn't one of those gym time freshies. This one has class to it. The performance kind of sucks. So that's the drawback. The performance is not very good. Actually, out of everything here, it's probably the worst performer. But the fragrance itself, the way it smells, is fantastic. And then we have Valentino Uomo. Now this is some great stuff, which I'm actually gonna spray right now because I love it. It's got hazelnut, chocolate, coffee, leather. It's really good. Valentino Uomo and Valentino Uomo Intense both have been compared to Dior Homme and Dior Homme Intense. And while I do get the similarity, they're different enough that it's not redundant to own both, especially if you're like me and you just love that type of scent profile. Sexy, sweet, warm, sophisticated, mature, but at the same time not old and fuddy-duddy and stuck up and musty. Valentino Uomo is an amazing designer scent. Now this is a hard choice, probably harder for me than a lot of people. A lot of people would just automatically say Valentino Uomo, but I love Uomo Aqua. Ultimately, it kind of pains me, but I'm going with the original again. So 4 Beast Mode, 1 Fresh. Let's hop over to Hermes, Terre d'Hermes, the original Eau de Toilette, and Terre d'Hermes Eau Très Fraîche. Terre d'Hermes, modern masterpiece, modern classic, whatever you want to call it, that's what this is. It has orange vetiver, this kind of flinty earthiness to it. And I've spoken on this a number of times, but that's really where some people will fall off with this fragrance in the opening. It has that earthy, kind of dirty orange feel as it leads into vetiver and the dry down. And some people can't get past that opening. They smell it and they just say, no thanks, I'm out. I'm gonna wear something else where I really love the opening. Enter Eau Très Fraîche, which takes the general idea of Terre d'Hermes and cleans it up a lot. That earthiness scrubbed away. So with Terre d'Hermes Eau Très Fraîche, you're getting an aquatic citrus fragrance with a great woody base that's maybe not quite as pronounced as the vetiver in the original is. Now between the two, Eau Très Fraîche is the easier to wear. You can wear it in more situations without even thinking about it because it is a fresher take. And a lot of times fresher fragrances are just easier to pull off. But at least for me, sometimes fresher fragrances are not quite as interesting to smell as something that's a little more complex, rich, and dark. Not that Terre d'Hermes is dark, just speaking in generalities there. Now, with these two, I am split down the middle. On this one, I don't think I can pick a winner. So I'm gonna cheat and just say they both win. Congratulations. All right, last on this list is from Guerlain. It's L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette going up against L'Homme Ideal Sport. Now I had a few options here. Could have gone with L'Homme Ideal Cologne, but oh wait, that's been discontinued for a long time. And I'll tell you straight up, had L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette been going up against L'Homme Ideal Cologne, Cologne would have won. Love that one. Also could have gone with L'Homme Ideal Cool, but that is much more difficult to find in the United States. So, Sport. So you have almond in both of these fragrances, which is what ties this whole line together. They all use almond. You get a little splash of citrus up top on L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette. Not too much though. You have tonka and leather. Over here, a little bit of fresh spiciness, a touch of it. Aquatics, that almond that I mentioned before. And then a little bit of white florals as well, some neroli. And you also have a little bit of tonka in the base of L'Homme Ideal Sport, which helps tie it in more with L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette. Now, I'll tell you guys, of the warm weather fragrances in this line, this one's my least favorite. I think Cool is better. I think Cologne is way better. This one is not bad, but it doesn't really stand up against all the other fragrances in the L'Homme Ideal line. So I've got to go with the original L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette. Yeah, pretty clearly, for my personal taste, the originals, the Beast Mode fragrances won out. But let me know in the comments how it played out for you. Did the freshies win? Was it closer? How'd it go? Not really a surprise. I was actually just going through picking out fragrances where there was an original that I thought was pretty good as far as performance goes that had a fresher one come down the road later. And I wanted to put them together and contrast and compare. And when I put these all down here, I looked and thought, that's not gonna go well for the fresh ones. All right, guys, let me know how it went for you. Thank you for hanging with me. Thank you for support. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.